Hi everybody, give me just a minute as I finish adjusting my camera. I apologize for this. I want to make sure that you guys can see my workspace and not necessarily the top. So I just need to extend it just a little bit more. Okay. Hopefully it will hold everything in place. Doesn't want to. There we go. I think that might work. It just keeps going back. Okay, well, whatever. That will work. How is everybody? Hope you guys are excited about our next card. This is card number 2. I'm just going to double check that we don't have any more people who are trying to join. And then I'm going to jump onto the video myself so I can see the comments as they pop up. So if you are joining us, go ahead and say hello. All right. Sorry again about that little bit of stand right there showing. For some reason it wants to be in the picture today. All right. So yesterday we created card number 1 and I walked you through all of the steps, including the stamping and coloring the base color. And that took us quite some time. And so we decided yesterday that we were going to start the video with these base colors already on our images. So hopefully if you're going to follow along with me today, hopefully you have already done that. So if not, then you're just going to watch and maybe work on yours, because maybe you're just making one card and that should be plenty of time for you to do the base color as I'm kind of talking maybe about some of the other images. I did notice as I was coloring and following my directions that I forgot to include the base color for the pants on the gnome. And so that color is dark Bermuda Bay. Now, if by chance you've already colored it with light, that's not a big deal. So, but I did forget to include that in the instructions, and I have edited my file, and I will upload that after the class, just in case there's maybe some other things that I missed that we need to change as well. I have not cut out my dies for the mushrooms and the grasses on the gnome, so I thought we would do that today together, and then we'll get started. So just want to say hello to everyone. We've got lots of people joining us, so good morning to all of you, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Karen says she enjoyed the unboxing yesterday. So if I did a little unboxing video on my Facebook page and my Instagram account, then I loaded that to my YouTube video account. So if you want to see what I purchased from the new and upcoming mini catalog, you can jump over after this video and check that out. Debbie just asked about the gnome pants, and it is dark Bermuda Bay. Thanks for bringing that up, Debbie. Sorry that I missed that in the PDF. All right, so excited. Angela's excited to be here. I am too, Angela. Thanks for joining this morning. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing in the PDF is that it says to stamp and stamp your images and then color your friends using the directions below. And let's go ahead and jump down to do that. Let's start, we're just going to start from the top to the bottom. So we're going to start with the all bundled up moose. Okay. And I did remember to sharpen my pencils, and I double checked that my early espresso was nice and sharp and that it shouldn't break on me today. So we've already done all of our base colors. So that first little bullet, we've kind of skipped over that. And now we're going to use the early espresso watercolor pencil to give more depth to the body and the rack. And then we'll use the black. So I'm going to grab that as well to deepen the shadows. And then if you want to blend, you can use your crumb cake blends to blend that out. So let's go ahead and start with that. Sorry, I'm just jumping over so that I can see both my PDF and the comments at the same time. So again, we're just highlighting some areas where we want to have some shadow. So go in with your early espresso and just kind of darken up some areas underneath the hat is where I'm going to begin. You can bring, because we're working with early espresso, you can bring that color out a little bit more than you would if with the black. So we'll use that black to deepen that shadow up a little bit. But we're just going to start by adding some color. I also wanted to add a little extra color across the nose. So I'm going to use kind of an angled horizontal stroke here, and I'm kind of identifying the fact that this particular nose is kind of flat up here at the top. So I'm kind of coming around. I don't want to go too far down into this curved area, okay? But just kind of softly add some color to the top of the face right here, just to kind of elongate it. Do you see how that makes it a little longer? And again, if you want to come in with your blends to blend that out, you can. So this really isn't shadow here. This is more about creating shape with a little bit of color. You can bring a little bit of color down the side too if you want. I'm also going to come into the nose and darken those nose openings and a little bit under the chin, kind of create some shape there. Maybe top of the lip right here. And it's just very light. We're just adding some more color to create a three-dimensional look. All right, Melissa also joined me for the unboxing video, and she says that she loved the way I zoomed in on the products. I'm glad that you enjoyed that. It was the first time I've ever done an unboxing video, and so I'm happy to get a little bit of feedback on what you guys enjoyed and maybe what I can change to make it better. So now that we've done the face, we're going to move down to the body. Right underneath this scarf, we're going to add some color. Maybe bring it down along the bottom of the body here. And then come down the leg. I'm just going to kind of do a little bit down the leg, and then I'm going to focus the color just along the edges here. Just to kind of make it feel three-dimensional. So the color is on the edges and not in the center of that leg. On this one over here, I'm going to move to the next, kind of in the front, the next front leg. I'm going to create a shadow underneath the kneecap. Okay, so just put a little color right underneath there. It's about half. So you see where it kind of pokes out on the sides. Just do it on that bottom half. You can bring a little color up along the edges. And then do the same down on the sides. Okay. This one in the back, I'm just going to make darker just to kind of have it pop against the other one. I'll give you a little close-up of that. Debbie says that she is coloring too hard with her pencils. Yeah, we're just using a very light touch, and we can build up the color by going over it multiple times. So just keep a very light touch here so that we don't see any of those strokes and that it's creating just a slight shape. That's what we're looking for, is to create shape within this flat image, okay? So we added a little bit of shadow over here under the belly along the leg. I kind of focused it on more on the inside than the outside. Brought a little bit of color up into this markings right here. And then let's do a little bit of color along the back too. Now there's not necessarily shadow happening along the back, but we do want to just, again, create some depth with some colors. Okay? So we don't want everything to just be all the same color. So that's the body. Let's work on the hooves. I'm just going to go in here and use a stronger pressure and just create maybe a different type of texture, maybe not so soft. Kind of using strong, bold strokes. And we'll go in with black and darken those up even more. Then with my antlers or rack, I don't know, which one is it? What do you guys think? I think this little moose guy is super cute, but I can't say that I know all of the anatomy. Anyway, so I'm going to go in with a little bit, again, soft pressure, and just fill in this cross hatching right there, and then create some shadows between each of these points, just to kind of make it feel like there's depth and definition here. And again, if it's coming out too dark, you can go in with your light crumb cake, which I might do just to lighten that up a little bit. And then I'm going to repeat on this side. So just a little shadow as it comes down into the fuller part. Okay. So now I'm going to take my light crumb cake, the brush tip, and just kind of blend that out just a little bit. And when that dries, you'll still see the impressions, but it will be lighter and not so dark. Hi, Linda. So happy to have you here today. All right, so now we've done the moose. So let's move on to the scarf. It says, add more color to the scarf with real red watercolor pencils along the edges, then add black. Oh, we need to also add black to the shadows here. Let's do that really quick. So just add the black right to where the shadow, the darkest shadow would be. And that's just really going to bump up that shadow. So this, we're not going to pull it into the face any. We're just going to go right along the hat, right underneath the scarf. If you wanted to add just a little bit of black on the tummy, you can. Maybe underneath on the legs. And then get down and do the hooves and just kind of do the same. Strong strokes. Just to make it a little darker down there. Okay, I'll give you a close-up of that. Okay, so now let's move to the scarf. So for those of you who are just joining, we have started coloring our moose, and we started with our base color before the video. So we just are trying to make these videos not quite so long. So we're going to be focusing on using the watercolor pencils in the videos. So I've got real red, and if you look at my original, you'll see that I've done a lot of cross hatching to kind of make it feel in the hat like yarn. And so what we're going to do is we're going to replicate this cross hatching, and we're just going to make it smaller and more of them. And we're not going to do the whole thing, but just in some areas. So start here, and you're just going to use a nice sharp watercolor pencil and go the same way that those lines are going, just in that area. So do more of them. You're just accentuating that texture there. Then pick a place on this side where you can do the same thing. Okay, I've done a kind of opposite corner there. I'm going to do a little bit in the center. then a little bit coming down the side there. If you don't like this look, you don't have to add it. It just, to me, I think it adds a little bit of texture to that. It makes it feel more like maybe a wool hat. Okay. And then if you want, with a lighter texture, go ahead, or lighter pressure, go ahead and add just a little bit of color just around the outside edges. You can also do any little markings that maybe you feel like want a little bit more color around them. Okay. And then for the pom-pom, I'll bring up this one. I did add a touch of the dark Calypso Coral blend in the pom-pom as well. So it has light Calypso Coral that I kind of just did short strokes, and then just kind of randomly add some dark Calypso Coral to the inside as well. Can you see that? It's a lot darker. For some reason, that stamp is a lot darker than this one. Okay, so then down in the scarf, I'm really just going to focus on adding shape with the Real Red. So keep it nice and light and just bring it up into the middle. So you're going to start on the edges, and then you're going to lightly bring up some color into the middle of the scarf. And that's going to give it a three-dimensional feeling. Do you see how I've left the center of each of those wraps without any color? That's going to kind of be like our highlight. So you just add color. And you're going to see this more on the light Calypso Coral than on the dark. But you just bring it up and don't do any coloring to the center. And then on this one, we can do a little bit more because of the shadow from the head of the moose. But again, still just kind of focus along the edges, leaving the center untouched. You can see how that really starts to make it pop. Do you remember what it looked like before when it was just kind of basic? And by adding this coloring, we're really making it pop a lot more. Okay, so now I'm going to take my black and I'm going to add just a little bit of shadow between these on the bottom wrap, you could say. So I'm not bringing it down, I'm just focusing on the top there. And then a little bit of shadow coming down from where the face or the head of the moose is. Okay. Oh, we forgot to do a little something to the ears. So just give a little bit of color in those ears. Don't leave them boring. Okay. I think that looks good. It's interesting that this one looks a little more pink, like the light Calypso Coral to me feels pinker than this one does. Maybe it just needs to lighten up and dry a little bit more. But, okay, super cute. He is all ready for my card. Let's double check. I think I got everything on that. In those instructions. So now we're going to move to the Yeti to Party. So we have already done our light Pale Papaya blend for the body, and I've added the dark Calypso Coral to the horns, and then I've also done light and dark Calypso Coral for the presents and the banner. Where am I? Okay. So then for the texture, we're going to add Crushed Curry and Night of Navy watercolor pencils. So crushed curry, that's going to give us kind of a yellowy color. And then Night of Navy. There it is. So remember we talked a little bit yesterday about how you can use the complementary color to give shadows. And so that's kind of what we're using today. We've got kind of a yellow orangey color, and that's when I've brought in the Night of Navy, is that kind of the complementary. So the crushed curry, just like we did yesterday, we're going to just create some kind of like fur strokes. Keep it nice and short, and you can go different directions to show the direction of the fur, which way it would kind of go on the arm or along the body. You don't want it to, like when we were blending on the moose, we wanted it to blend. And for this, we kind of want it to be more obvious that it's not blending to create that texture. Have fun with it. I focused mostly just along the edges. I'll give you a close-up of that so you can see how it's looking. And you don't need to do it, you know, we're kind of just showing that there's texture there. It doesn't need to be all over. You know, you can kind of pick a couple spots here or there to add a little bit more if you want. Make it a little darker in areas where you think that the shadow would be. Make sure to do a couple around the face. Okay, so something like that. Just have fun with it. Don't try to be perfect with this. Okay, I'll show you the feet too. So now we're going to take the Night of Navy, and this might feel strange at first because you're like, why are we adding blue? But it does look good with the card. So don't worry about it. We're adding this mostly where the shadow might be. And you can crosshatch it, again, which means going opposite directions. Just kind of a little bit here and there. Sue says, never thought to use the Stampin' Blends and the watercolor pencils together. Such a fun technique to play around with. It is really fun. What I like is that the Stampin' Blend markers create a nice soft background, and then you can get some fun details with those watercolor pencils. I'm going to add just a little bit more around the face. Okay, all right. And then again, if there's anything that feels too dark that you want to lighten up, go back with your watercolor or your Stampin' Blends over the watercolor pencils, and that will lighten up those strokes a little bit. Kind of like they did here with the moose. Do you see how that's lightened up? Oh, we got a little tongue in here. Let's use a little, I think I forgot to do that yesterday, but you can use a little light Calypso Coral if you want to give that tongue inside a little bit of color. Super cute. Let's do our our highlights now. So again, we've got a little bit of re-inker and my small, this is the small stylus that comes on the Take a Pic tool. And again, if you have maybe some, like a white gel pen, you could definitely use that instead of this. But just you want to keep your strokes similar, so very short. You don't want them to be too long. And you're just kind of identifying some maybe highlight areas here and there. So along the top of the arms, maybe at the top of the head. Use it sparingly. You don't want to, like yesterday when I did too much and made it feel gray. It's just another level of texture that we can add. Let's see if I want to add maybe a couple just inside. Okay. Can you see the detail there? All right. Let's see, I saw a comment come through. Let's see what that says. So Judy says that it's challenging for her to get the same light touch that I'm getting. So, especially with like the early espresso, is as you work with your watercolor pencil, it will create kind of a softer shape at the tip of the top. And so that's easier for blending when it's a little bit softer and not so pointy. So that's one little tip. So kind of like the side of it. And then when you're doing more of a crosshatch, that's when you're going to want to use the pointy end to get that kind of more defined line. So there's another little tip for that technique. Let's see. The Pale Papaya blend won't pick up the navy and mess up the blend if you go back over it, will it? Well, the thing about it is, I don't think it will. Let's just give it a try. So it's not going to cover it up. It's not an eraser. It's just a softener because it's going to activate the watercolor element of the pencil and kind of soften it. So if I was to push it over this, you can see that it kind of softens it up a little bit. And then the color is picked up just slightly on the tip. But if you were to like bring it somewhere else, you know, it would kind of clean it off the tip. So you're not going to ruin, sorry, you can't see that. You're not going to ruin your tip by picking up maybe a color that's a different color, because it will just blend out as you use it. So that's a really good question. Okay. All right. If you guys have any other questions, just please feel free to ask them. I will do my best to answer them. So hopefully that answered your question, Danielle. Judy says, hoping by day 6, as she practices all week, that she'll be, like, the technique will improve. And I think it will, definitely. So let's move to our presents for the Yeti to Party. We're going to add some shadow with the Real Red and Black for both of these. So I kind of chose on my original card to have the shadow be on the right side and the bottom for both of these, as well as the banner. So it kind of feels like maybe there's light coming from the left side. And so if you wanted it to be on the other side, then you would just do opposite color there. Okay. So the Real Red, you're going to have to push a little harder on the dark Calypso Coral for it to show, but then keep it lighter on the light Calypso Coral. So again, I'm using the side of my pencil to create a softer feeling. So I'll give you a close-up of those. And then again on the banner. So just on that right side, I'm going to go in with a heavier mark and just kind of identify a little bit of shadow on them, just to kind of help it feel more three-dimensional. And if you want to add a little bit of black, you can as well. That might show up better on the darker than on the lighter. So that's kind of where I'm going to add it. I don't know if I want to add it on the light one too much. Okay. So just on the dark did I add the black watercolor pencil. And it's very, very light. Danielle says that she feels like this is better than blending with the other blends. She makes such a mess when trying to use both blend colors together. Well, that is true. Like sometimes when you're adding so much ink, it kind of does blend out of your image and create kind of a mess. So I can agree with you there, especially for little details. So here I wanted to show you, do you see how that is where we added the extra blend over? And then here it doesn't have it. So you can see that there is more detail on the arm than on the body because this kind of was blended out. Okay. All right, so our Yeti to Party images are all ready. And now we can go to our gnomes. So this is the card I'm going to actually make today. I'm going to put together the gnome card. And the reason for that is because it does have some extra elements. Of course, I'm going to show you how to do the others as well. So don't feel like I'm leaving you behind, but this is the one I'm actually just going to put together. So it says to add, we've got light poppy parade for the hat, light balmy blue for the shirt. Don't forget this little peak of shirt right here between the hand and the beard. We have dark balmy blue for the lantern. And then light pale papaya for the nose and hands. And dark pale papaya for the light. Now you will, if, you know, because it's light, it does have, it's going to come outside of the lantern and glow on the things that are around it. So I did, after I added the crumb cake, I did add some dark pale papaya around the lantern to kind of give it that glowing feeling. Let's see, where was I? Then we've got light crumb cake for the beard and dark crumb cake for the shoes. And then I will add that this is dark Bermuda Bay for the pants. And I'll upload that new PDF to the Facebook page and include it. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I will also add that to the email that I send out with the link. So we're all ready with our base colors. So let's go ahead and add depth with coordinating watercolor pencils. So let's use the Real Red watercolor pencil for the hat. And we're going to focus on the folds. So think about how do you want that hat to fold. So here's my original. I've added some dark color here at the top, kind of like there's a little dip. Of course, a little bit here in the shadow for the fold that's coming down. And then a little bit between these areas here, and then a little bit right here. I wanted it to feel like it swoops up, so there would be a little bit of a fold here and a little bit of fold here as it swoops up and over the nose. So we'll go ahead and try to do something similar, and again, if it's not the same, that's okay. So this, I think my new blends are a lot darker than this one. I think this one might have been a little lighter because it was a little more used. So I'm going to have to press pretty hard to get this color to show up. And then as you're creating that blend, you create kind of a triangle shape. So the tip of the triangle goes towards the center of the hat. So you can see that I've created a triangle here, and the wider part is along the outside edge. So you want to do that same thing on the other side, kind of match it. And then a little bit of color coming down, again creating a triangle shape. It needs to be maybe a little softer along the edges. Do you guys see that triangle shape in the center? And then for this one, we're kind of creating a swoop. So more of maybe like an oval shape right here. It can get a little skinnier on the left. And then maybe bring just a little bit up and over to show that, you know, that it's curving up and over the nose. Let me see if I can show you that. So it's very thin right here, and it creates this curve. If you were to draw the nose as it extends into this hat, you would curve it this way. And then from there, you're going to create a shadow as it comes out towards it. So it curves up and over the nose and then swoops down and follows. It kind of follows the shape of this hat on this outline edge right here, okay? So that's kind of what I'm doing to create that shape. And then again, I'm mimicking that edge of the hat, again, up and over the nose on the other side as well. Okay. All right, so Cheryl says, great close-ups. I'm glad that's helping. So then you can take your black and add darker shadows. Okay, where you really want, oh, that's very dark. Where you want a little more dark shadows to show. Maybe a little bit in the center. So just think about where would it be darker if I was, you know, wearing a hat like this? Where would I see some shadows? I'm using a very light pressure right along the edges there. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the black in that. It's very light. Now, if you want to blend that some more, of course, pull out your Poppy Parade, light Poppy Parade here, and blend it some more. But let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. It says, use the Balmy Blue watercolor pencil for the shirt and Colsa Cabana for the pants. So Balmy Blue. So this is the Colsa Cabana. It's got a little bit more green to it. And there's my Balmy Blue. And we're really just going to focus along some shadowy areas. So behind the beard here would be a little bit of a shadow. And underneath the hat, there'd be a little shadow. And then if you want to add a little color along the edge, you can too. Remember to leave the center open. And then here under the arm, it's going to be a lot darker. So I've just added pretty much watercolor pencils under that whole thing. And then let's use this, since we've got it, and add a little bit of depth to this lantern. So just pick a couple spots to add just a little darker color, maybe on the handle and along the top. And then we've got our Coastal Cabana. And we're going to add some color under the hand. And I'm using kind of a circular stroke here under the beard. And on the same thing on the other side. Okay. So I've left it light right here, but there's color along the edges near the beard and hand. Okay. Let's use Daffodil Delight to brighten up the light on the inside of the lantern. So just right there in the center, get a lot of pressure and add some Daffodil Delight. And then if you want to, you can also bring it out into the beard a little bit. That's just going to brighten it up a little bit. I'm not even sure if you can really see it. Okay. Keep losing my spot. Okay, there I am. Early espresso for the shoes and beard, and use short strokes to show texture. Okay. And then of course go back in with any black. So the shoes, I'm just going to add a little bit along the bottom. Darker along the bottom, and then lighten it up as you move to the top. And then for the hand, I'm actually going to add shadow to the top because the bottom is being highlighted by the light. Okay, so if you just add a little bit of shadow at the top of the hand, and then on the other hand, we're going to focus along the bottom here. And then the nose, it kind of depends on if you want the light to hit the nose or not. I'm not really going to have it hit the nose there. So I'm just going to add a little shadow underneath the hat, all the way across the hat, onto the beard. And then kind of make it thinner right there, and then come back down and make it thick on the other side. And a little underneath the nose and on the bottom of the nose. Kind of bring it in just a little bit. Okay, do you see how that shadow really makes the hat pop? And then you can take your early espresso and just start doing some short strokes in the same direction as those others, like the strokes from the stamp set. Okay, you're just adding more. And we're not using any white on the gnome for this one. If you want to, you can, but I didn't originally put any whites like we did yesterday. Okay, so I think that guy's all done. He's looking pretty good. So let's move to the cutouts. So I think I forgot to mention, in your kit yesterday, there is a piece of white basic white cardstock that is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and it's going to be in every single envelope, and it is for the inside of your card. And I think I forgot to mention that. So it's for the inside. You can stamp on it, color on it, add a greeting, whatever you want to do for the inside. But it's on every one. So when you see that, I even decided to put it in the white one because sometimes it's nice just to even have that border to make it feel special. So it's up to you how you want to use that piece for today's card. So the die cuts are going to be cut out of one of the pieces that are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So these are the larger pieces that are loose in your kit. It's not the one that's in your envelope, unless of course you want to use that. And we're just going to go ahead and cut them out. So there are enough mushrooms for 2, so that's what we're going to use. But then you do need to cut 2 of the green. And I decided not to use any of these really cute cutouts because today it's a coloring class, but those are really cute too, and so many wonderful ideas are on the internet, so you can get some fun ideas on how to use those die cut if you want to. So I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to cut out a second grass as well, and then I'll be right back. Amy says this technique in coloring gives so much depth to the picture. It's amazing. It is really a great technique to know and be able to use when you want to have these beautiful detailed images. Okay, so we're going to do similar things here to the die cuts. We're just going to color them and then add some watercolor pencils on top to give it some fun depth. So the grasses, let's start with that. It says color the grass with the light Bermuda Bay and then add more green with garden green watercolor pencil near the base and up one side of each blade. I'm going to grab some scratch paper. Hold on. Okay, so the light Bermuda Bay. So this color is really fun because Bermuda Bay can be a blue or a green depending on what colors you add to it. So because we're going to be adding, what did it say, garden green, it's going to feel more green. And if we were to add like a blue, then I think it would feel more blue. So it's a fun color. So focus this coloring along the base, and you can use a lot of pressure here because they're dark colors. Do you see how I'm adding that green color to it? And then go ahead and go up with the side of your pencil, go up the blade on one side. So I'm doing the left side on this one. Like that. Okay. If you want to do more, you can too. And then let's do the same on this one. So focus some color along the bottom. And then on the left side. Okay. So those are my two grasses. And then it says, color each mushroom with light color of blend at the top and a dark at the bottom. I did one pale papaya and the other calypso coral, and then add shadows. And I think I did the stems with crumb cake. Let's see what it says. Okay, dark crumb cake. That's my light. So I've got dark crumb cake, I've got calypso coral, and pale papaya. Uh-oh. So let's do the stems first. And then for the mushrooms, we do a combination here. So we have the light on top and then the dark on the bottom. And then you can take your light and blend those together if you want. And we'll repeat that with the pale papaya. So dark on the bottom, light on the top, and blend the dark into the light. So this is without any watercolor pencils. Okay, so I've got my stems and my mushroom tops. And then we're going to add some shadows with Early Espresso on both. As you can tell, I really like Early Espresso. I think it's a good shadow color. So on the stems, I'm going to do this on the right side since both of them are curving to the right, and so that's kind of the side that's going to have the shadow. And then kind of on the same for the mushroom, I'm kind of focusing on the right bottom corner, very, very light, and you're going to start to see some of that texture pop through. Along the bottom there. You'll see it better on this one because it's darker. So if I wanted to, I can go in with my dark pale papaya and kind of smooth that color out a little bit. Which I think I'm going to do. So my dark, kind of blend that. Okay. I'll give you close-ups of that too. Just kind of makes them feel a little more earthy. And then we'll add the little white dots once it's on our card so that we don't have to touch them and smear it. Okay, so we are now ready to move on to the rest of our card. We have about 10 minutes left before we've hit our hour, so I'm hoping we can kind of move through this quickly. So it says so this is step number 3. So from the 3 3/4, 1/4. So 3 1/4 inch Balmy Blue square, we are going to cut the largest circle from the layering circle dies. And it should just barely fit inside that. So I'm going to go ahead and run that through my machine. All right, so for the moose and the Yeti, on the back of the on the snowflake, we're going to stamp with Balmy Blue ink. And we're going to stamp the snowflakes. So each set has a snowflake. So the Yeti to Party has 2 different sizes. And you can put those 2 together on one block. And that's going to give you like a grouping. And then you can stamp those together kind of around. Oh wait, did we use Balmy Blue? No. Sorry. What color? Bermuda Bay. That's the color. Let me grab that. I forgot that we only have Bermuda Bay in the class. Like we're not using Balmy Blue, we're using Bermuda Bay and black. Those are the only 2 ink pads. All right, so depending again, so if you're doing all bundled up, you're going to use these snowflakes here, and they're all together as well. So either one, and if you want, for the gnomes, you can add snowflakes from a different stamp set if you want to have that background, or you can leave it plain like I have here on the original card. And we're just going to stamp them. You kind of want to focus around, like along the outside edges, because that's really what you're going to see. And then of course do a couple in the middle as well, if you can fit them in there. Okay. So Did I tell you what to do with this strip? Let's see. From the square piece, so we've stamped it, so we've done number 3, and it says add some adhesive to the center of the circle and add 15 inches of ribbon, and then stamp your greeting and flag the ends with your pick a banner punch if you want. Okay, so we do talk about that in number 7. So I'll just keep following the instructions. So let's do the adhesive to the center of the circle. So use any type of adhesive that you want. I'm going to use tear and tape, and you can choose which direction to add your ribbon. So for the moose, I did it from the left to the right. However, for the Yadida party, I did from the right to the left. And the reason for that is I just thought it looked better. And then for this guy, I did it from the left to the right. So these two are the same. So whatever you're making, I'm going to be doing the gnomes, and so I'm going to do that way. So add a little bit of adhesive in the center. And what did I do with my ribbon? There it is. Oh, Debbie, she had a good idea. She's going to use the winter embossing folder for the circle instead of stamping on it. I like that idea. So 15 inches of ribbon, and we're going to take, because we want to see the blue on the outside, we're actually going to lay it down so that the white is on top. Okay, so put the two ends together, and then right in the center of that adhesive, add your ribbon. So the white is on top, and then you're just going to take your ribbon, and maybe with about a finger width of a loop on each side, lay it straight onto the sides of the first one. So this is the first ribbon we laid down, and then you're going to fold it and lay it on the top, and then fold this one and lay it on the bottom of that center ribbon. And then you can take your paper, a good pair of ribbon scissors, and angle the ends there. Okay, so like that. I'm going to go ahead and add my gnome with the snowflakes, just so that we can see what that looks like, because that's kind of fun. Of course, if you want it to be blank, then you would just you wouldn't stamp on it. Okay. All right, let's go to the next step, which is step number 5. It says stamp your greeting on the small white piece that's in your envelope. So this is in your envelope. Depending on which greeting you're using is how much you're going to need to cut. So for this one, I just wanted something really simple for the gnomes, but you can use any of these, okay? So I'm using Warm Wishes. So I'm going to show you a little tip on how to trim your greetings. Sorry, I keep losing things. I need my black ink. All right, let me just go grab another one. It's funny because I put it where I think I'll remember I put it, and then I just don't. All right, so we've got Warm Winter Wishes, and I'm going to stamp that in the center. It's a little bit heavy. I pushed a little hard, so I'm going to do another one that's a little lighter and decide which one I like more. So if you're using a larger greeting and you want to restamp it, just flip it over. So here's my little trick, and if you've taken my class before, you know how to do this. But you're going to take your paper trimmer and a Post-it note, and you're going to take the sticky side is going away from your cut line, but you're going to place that opposite side that's sticky. So here's my sticky side, here's the opposite side, and you're adding it about how far away you want your greeting, like how much of a border you want around your greeting. And then you add, I'm going to bring it down actually so I have more space. And then you add your greeting underneath the sticky note and line that edge up with the bottom of your greeting. Okay, you can see that I've covered it up and I just can see just a little bit of the greeting poking out. And then you can cut, and it's going to give you a border, a perfect border that's in line with your greeting. So then we're going to flip it, and now we do the same thing to the top. Okay, so it can be a little tricky when you, like this wishes, like the H is taller, so you kind of want to get just an idea. If you need to move, I think I'm going to move my sticky note down so I can just so I can line it up with the top of the smaller letters, and then I don't actually cut off the H. I think it'll make sense once I do it. So I brought it down maybe about 1/16 of an inch or so, and I'm lining it up with the top of the small letters, maybe just saying just a little bit. And if I'm nervous about it moving, I can use another sticky note to hold it in place so it doesn't move around on me. And then trim it there. Okay. Do you see how it kind of cuts it nice and close? And then you can just trim the sides down to whatever you want them to be. I'm kind of thinking it feels like it's a little bigger on that side. So I'm just going to take my paper snips and just trim a little bit off. Okay. But I really like that technique. It helps me get a nice straight edge. But, okay. So let's move on to the next one. Oh, and if you want to cut it out with so this one has a flag end here, and you can use your pick a banner punch for that, as well as the Yeti if you want to do that. Which I can't remember where I put my punch. You guys, I did clean up my craft room, I promise. But when I use things, you know, they kind of disappear. But that's okay. All right. So we're going to now move to let's cut the snowflake foil. So yesterday we used the velvet pattern that's the same. So this one has the thin snowflake. And we're going to cut it to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, just like yesterday's. So start at 4 inches and then rotate to 5 1/4. And just like yesterday, we can add it with the adhesive behind the snowflakes, which is really nice. And if you need to score your card base, and use a bone folder. Okay. So now let's flag the ends. No, I wonder if it's in here. So using your Pick a Punch banner, you're going to stick that in, and you want to make sure that it lines up inside, and I always flip it over to just double check that it's even on both sides. And you're just going to cut those out. And we're going to add this to the center of the card. Just like that. And then we're going to layer our circle piece. Make sure it goes at an angle, and it does have dimensionals. So this one's going to go on so angled from the left to the right. Okay, and then you're just going to add your elements. So let's just kind of lay out how the moose looks. The moose is going to go right in the center, just like that. Add some dimensionals so that the ribbon has some space, and then add your greeting right over the bottom of the moose there. Okay, just right around there. And then for your Yeti to party, you're going to put him more on the right side. And this actually might be why I did it the other way, is do you see how that kind of pops up and is kind of an issue down by his foot? So if you had him going the other way, we'll just do it this way. There's more space here. Okay, so you put your Yeti to party there. You've got your greeting that you're going to lay right in the center. You will want to, it just goes right over the middle. There's no dimensional there, but you will want to add a dimensional here on the side to support it. And then add your presents with dimensionals, and add your banner with glue dots to the hands. And where's my other little, so just kind of like that. Okay, so pretty easy to just go ahead and add those to your card. And then for the gnomes, here, I'm going to put those out so that you guys can see those. Okay. And then for the gnomes, we're going to add dimensionals. And you'll want to add dimensionals in the areas where the ribbon isn't touching, so that it can adhere to the cardstock underneath. So you can see that we're off center just a little bit. I do have a little bit of adhesive poking out right here. And because I used tear and tape, I'm just going to kind of tuck it underneath. I can kind of push it underneath that ribbon a little bit so I don't see it. Then you'll take your grasses, and these also are popped up with dimensionals, so make sure you maybe need to cut one to make sure it fits, or use a mini. Just put it in that larger opening there. Hi, Cheryl. It's okay, you can watch the replay. Place one in the front behind the gnome, and then the other one goes behind the ribbon. So lift up the ribbon just a little bit and tuck it in behind the ribbon, just like that. And then the larger mushroom goes first, and it's going to get adhered on top of the ribbon. So if you have the I lost my train of thought. What are those called? The adhesive sheets, you could use that. You're just going to add that. It's going to go lower. It gets tucked underneath the greeting, so it goes lower than the gnome. And then the larger, shorter one gets tucked underneath the grass on that side. So just tuck it under the grass. They look like little tree trunks. And then you're going to add the tops. And I did not add these with dimensionals. So just a little liquid glue. And you can, they don't have to sit at the top. You can bring them down so that they're the right size for the card. And kind of angle them a little bit so they're off center. And the same with this one. Kind of tuck them behind the gnome. Just like that. I think they're super cute. And then your greeting can go on with dimensionals as well. And that just goes right underneath the gnome. The mushroom will get tucked underneath as well. Okay, super cute. All right, and then the last thing we're going to do, we're going to add some of the Balmy Blue gems. And so here you can see the difference with the snowflakes in the background versus the plain. So add some Balmy Blue gems. I'm going to add 2, a large and a small, inside the circle, and then a large one down at the bottom near the greeting, and maybe the other small one off the circle on the white. And then I'll show you what I did with the other greeting, the other cards. So for the all bundled up, I added them inside some of the snowflakes, and then one just on the outside and one down in the corner. So same kind of location as the gnome. And then the same with the Yeti to Party, but they just are on opposite sides. So 3 at the top, 1 inside a snowflake, and then I did put 1 on top of the present there near the bow. So these cards turned out so cute. And we're just a little outside of 1 hour. So I think it's a good idea that we did do our base coloring first. So I'm going to go ahead and continue that for the next, for all of our cards. All right. So I think this is card number 3. Let me share with you what those look like. So here we've got card number 3. Look how cute he is. Isn't he so happy? So this one's a little different. You can see that we did not color the body, but we did color the face. So when you are adding that Balmy Blue, just do go around the outline of the body and don't fill in so that he's all white. So cute. Okay, so just to kind of cut down on time, for tomorrow's card, I am going to go ahead and do some of the coloring to the raccoon, especially the body, since we have already done that. And then we'll walk through how to do the hat and scarf, since those are different colors. I will do the full bird with you tomorrow. I'm going to, again, do the base coloring for the gnome, and I am going to do the base coloring for the background as well, so that you can we can kind of move through that one quickly. And again, base coloring for the gnomes, and we'll go through that one kind of quickly as well. Okay, so hopefully that will help us so that we're not here too long tomorrow. Oh, so Sue, she noticed that I switched it up and did an even number of embellishments instead of the odd number. And there is a good reason for that, Sue. And the reason is because the actual pack of embellishments, there are an even number. So I just used 1 row, 2 large and 2 small on each one, just so that way we don't end up with some weird number of embellishments, and I can kind of use the pack for multiple cards. So that is why. But it's a little bit hard for me, actually, as I'm adding them to the card. I'm thinking, oh, I just want to put another one down there. But there was a good reason for it. So I thought that's funny that you noticed that. All right, guys. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy making your cards. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I'll try to get to those as soon as I can. And I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Thanks. Bye-bye.